Welcome to Beyond Boundaries. Today we are joined by Dan White. Dan from 90, Dan from ARK, Dan White. Dan, hi.
Nice to be with you.
It's lovely to have you here. Dan, we regularly catch up all around the world. I'm not going to go into that too much, but you know where I was going to go with that.
I do.
Tell me, Dan, tell me about you a little bit, right? Because we share a common background to our journeys, how we've ended up in the world of insurance. But tell me yours.
Mine was digital transformation from a digital agency side, helping the UK direct carriers in those early days of e-commerce, the direct lines, the Norwich Unions, now Avivas, to get online and start trading digitally through what was e-commerce at the time. So that's where I cut my teeth, then moved into innovation and innovation strategy consulting for insurers, and then increasingly moving into actually building businesses, tackling some of the opportunities that I've seen in my 20 or so years around this space.
Okay. And when did you, and 90 being the first venture, the first business that you set up, is that right?
That's right.
So when did you set up 90? And why?
So 90 is a insurance specialist, insurance-only innovation agency or innovation consultancy. I set it up 12, 13 years ago. It was a natural extension of what I was doing already at the time. I had the relationships, I was doing the work with the carriers. So it was formalizing that, wrapping a brand around it, and going to market. So 90 now works with 60 of the big insurers around the world, helping them to innovate, helping teach their teams to innovate, and helping them build structures for innovation. It's a social enterprise. The name comes from the fact that we make our money doing this stuff, but we're passionate about making the world a better place, and so we give 90% of our profits to charity, hence the name 90.
Love it. Yeah, I'm a big fan, and we met quite certainly early on in the Sønr journey, and being able to, we share a bunch of clients, right, and seeing you guys, it's not take the world by storm, but certainly deliver exceptional work across seemingly brands from the whole remit, right, across the world. But more recently, ARK has come about. Tell me a little bit about ARK, and I wouldn't mind if you're up for it, just focusing a little bit deeper into this quite incredible business that you're building. So 90 into ARK, or it's just a separate venture? What's the relationship there, and why?
90 and ARK are sister companies.
Okay.
I founded them both. ARK is a venture studio, so it's a business that builds startups.
Yep.
The two businesses are very synergistic. ARK is partly funded by the trading activity of 90. And ARK is, as you know, going after some of the big, what we call the great risks facing people on planet, some of the big unresolved issues and risks of our time.
Yep.
These are things which classically sit within this enormous protection gap space. And as a social entrepreneur, I'm motivated socially by some of these issues, and I'll share some of those examples in a second. But B, I see tons of opportunity in them. There are these enormous groups of people that we either haven't served well as an insurance sector, or there are people that we're serving well as an insurance sector, but they have needs that we've just not yet met. Mm-hmm. And so we're looking at these things and saying, well, rather than just tinkering with our car insurance, processes or improving our claims fraud ratios, can't we go into something really quite bold, quite radical, and extend the reach of the insurance sector as a whole?
Yeah.
So that's what we're going after, one topic at a time, building ventures into those spaces, each of which are designed to be venture backable, venture scalable.
Yeah.
Not building for corporates or with corporates, but absolutely building with the friendship of corporates.
Okay.
And we've benefited from that friendship, from money and those sorts of things from some of the big carriers out there.
And how do you identify the topics, which I imagine can be sort of endless, right? So you're therefore having to prioritize. But how are you identifying those? Is it drawn from the friends, the corporates out there, or is it insights that you have?
It's a number of ways. I mean, there's a kind of pure academic sort of top-down thing that we've done, which is looking at all the mega trends, looking at all the big sort of documents and reports, looking at what Swiss Re Sønr puts out, looking at the global risk reports that Marsh contributes to, looking at what the McKinsey Institute says, Oxford and Cambridge have both got
Yeah.
centres looking at this stuff. So taking all that, aggregating it, deduping it, and saying, what are the big issues that we could go after?
Yeah.
We identified, I think, 60, 70 of them, and we went through a process of scoring those as to which ones we might be able to make a difference to. There were 16 topics that we surfaced. So that's one route. The other route is actually just the personal route. So the pain points that we see with our own eyes. I'll give you an example of one of those. You and I both got kids.
Sure.
And I've got 19, 17, 12. 19 and 17-year-olds got smartphones when they were 11, 12. And you try to protect them. And yet we failed fundamentally to protect those two, our older kids. As a result, my 12-year-old's not getting a phone. She's one of the only kids in their class who doesn't have a phone. But I don't give her a phone, not because I'm afraid she's going to break that phone, because we've covered that as a sector.
Yeah.
I'm afraid the phone's going to break her.
Yeah.
She's much more valuable to me than the phone.
Yeah.
And as a sector, we've not solved that risk. So there's an example of like just a
I love
personal
it.
lived
Yeah,
experience
sure.
pain point, which when I talk to other parents, it resonates.
Yeah.
We're all struggling
100%.
with this stuff.
Yeah. No, I'm a little behind you on that journey, but it's a big topic already, right? And we're not even at that do I have a phone stage.
Yeah.
Tell me some of the stuff that you have been up to then within ARK. So let's make it a little bit more tangible. So any topics that you can surface that you are working on or that you're creating within?
So we've worked on some pretty esoteric topics. They're all very common sense. They're all very mot du jour. They're all things that we're talking about as a society. So one of those, for example, would be disinformation.
Yeah.
So this disinformation, the impact that it has, the downstream risks that it creates, and the losses that are the consequences of that. And we looked hard at, could we intercept disinformation as it is spreading?
Yeah.
Lies spread 7 times faster than truth on social media. We have to intercept within 30 seconds. It's a very, very tight timeline before it starts going viral. Could we intercept that technically? What would be the arbiter of truth? How do we determine, is this a true statement or not a true statement? Who is suffering the loss as a consequence of disinformation? Do they have willingness to pay for a product that could intercept, perhaps wrap some kind of some support and reaction services? Think about kind of cyber response teams and those sorts of propositions in insurance. Could you do the same thing for disinformation attacks and losses? So that's one example. We've killed that venture.
Okay.
It's a good example of killing things reasonably fast.
Massively important, right?
Yeah. Feasibility was difficult. How do we arbitrate truth?
Yeah.
We struggle with willingness to pay, struggle with GTM channels. Another example would be biodiversity and nature conservation and restoration. There's an emerging biodiversity credits market that's following largely the voluntary carbon market. And in that biodiversity credits market, there are transactions with imputed liabilities. And we conceived a parametric product that would sit in that marketplace, in those transactions, and transfer liability away from the market participants. We haven't brought that to market yet, but there's a moment for that to come to market.
I love it.
And then one example of a venture that we are building in close collaboration with Generali is one called Migrashore. And here we're going after the very large population of first-generation migrants in Europe. Leave all the politics aside. Just focus on what are the needs of this community. 80, 90 million people. Largely underserved by insurance for a number of reasons. Yeah. Partly we make it hard. Partly there's a language barrier. Partly there's a set of unconscious biases against this group. We're trying to get behind those biases to validate the actual risk of this demographic and to serve some of their specific needs with insurance products, other kind of risk management type products that will bring a huge group of people into the protection kind of fence.
Sure. Yeah, I love Migrashore. Yeah, I mean, I've been following that journey as close as I can, right, from the outside. But it's it's as with all of these things, it's a much needed and opportunistic in a really healthy, socially valuable way business, right? So good for you. Last maybe wrap-up question around ARK, the future, next steps, more venture building, scaling these businesses, new stuff. What's next, Dan?
Yeah, so we're adding more ventures to the top of the funnel.
Okay.
We're looking at retirement planning.
For yourself?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We're looking at retirement planning and decumulation robo-advisory business models.
Yeah.
We're looking at so creating enhanced access to lower cost medical diagnostics equipment for patients and for payers.
Yeah.
So
I love that space, by the way. I went to my first pure health conference in Paris a few months ago, and it's just seeing this transformational innovation that's taking place, and these machines that once cost millions and millions of pounds to purchase are now available at such a fraction of that cost, and therefore can be made available. And the weight of these versus the weight today, and all these obstacles that were barriers to us being able to get
our simple thought on this idea, and it's a pre-validated idea, but so those machines sit in these clinics, and at 5-6 p.m. a technician turns them off and goes home. In the meantime, there's a waiting list.
Sure.
That are sitting there at home worried about the symptoms, and there's a health insurer worried about how quickly they're going to need to get that person into treatment. So if we create a marketplace that provides access to the payers and the patients to, you can either wait 4 weeks,
sure,
or you can turn up tomorrow night at 11 o'clock, and everyone wins. So we're looking at that as a marketplace concept. Yeah, and then there's the perpetual challenge of funding.
Yeah, sure.
For early stage ventures.
Yeah. But sorry, I know I was wrapping up, but just a quick one on that. How are you seeing, because you're coming at it from a very different perspective, albeit share lots of the same challenges that a lot of the insurtechs or early stage ventures out there are facing, right? Which is, how do I get funding to enable a runway for my business to grow and ultimately scale? How are you finding the market and the climate right now? So we're kind of coming up to halfway through 2025 at the time of interview, right?
It feels like it's improving.
Yeah.
Which we're all glad for.
Sure.
So there are a lot more nods and yeses around there. But to some degree, I've taken control of our own funding destiny by connecting ARK to the sister company 90 and using that funding mechanism to get the ventures meaningfully de-risked before we start asking external capital to get involved.
Yeah, nice. A luxury many don't have, right? But that's right. But if you're able to do it, then
people like you and I have been building these businesses for years.
Sure. No, that's right.
And
thank God, from a Sønr perspective, we're not VC backed, because when times are tough and the capital isn't there, it's you need to change your business model, and that may not be the right thing for you. Dan, look, thank you for joining me. I can't wait.
My pleasure.
I'm assuming I'll see you in a few weeks somewhere fun. I really appreciate your time. Good luck with ARK. Good luck with 90. And guys, thank you very much for tuning into Beyond Boundaries. So you'll hear from us again next week for another interview with someone fascinating and brilliant. Dan, thanks.
Thank you, Matt.